Howdy guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. Now we're doing the live a little bit differently today. Normally we do it from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. But the thing is, very soon I'm going to be traveling back up to New Jersey to go work on the family farm and prepping it, kind of its final prepping for becoming essentially the business it's going to become, which is the Marble Mountain Horse Estate. And that's going to be really cool. We're just finalizing details on the bathroom amenities, etc. Now let's go through this real quick. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5-star reviews. The way you leave 5-star reviews if these videos are helpful, Howdy Faith More, is basically you go ahead and you just Google Disability Resolution Law Firm, and then you just click into the 5-star review and leave one right there. All right, let's get right to this video. I wanted to do a video for those who had just been found disabled. Now remember, the appeals counsel can always jump in and say, whoa, we want this thing to be reviewed again. But let's say you get your fully favorable, you get your partially favorable, and then you get your notification from the local field office saying, hey, this is what your monthly benefit amount is going to be. When you have that letter in your hand, there are certain things that you should be doing that are incredibly important. Thank you for good sir for the $5 donation. Indeed, Faith Moore, thank you for the $1.99 donation. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So I really appreciate the donations right now, especially guys, because getting this farm set up as like a business, oh my goodness, so expensive, like ridiculously expensive. But let's go through this real quick. All right, these are the things you do the moment you have that piece of paper in your hand saying that you are getting disability benefits. Number one, once you get the notice that you'll be receiving disability benefits, you take it to the bank. They open up an account for you. This is going to be your platform for doing all of your banking details in the future. Your debit cards, your credit cards, your checks, all that stuff. You have to go get your bank account open. That's like step number one. Step number two, you pretty much tell no one. Don't tell people that you were found disabled. I know that you told them throughout the process, I'm waiting to be found disabled. I get it. I know. I understand. But you do not tell people throughout this process, or rather once you're found disabled, that you have been found disabled. And here's why. If you tell them that you were found disabled, everybody is going to want a loan. You don't want that. Cut that entire step out of it. If other people know you're found disabled, make sure you tell them not to tell other people. Okay. Number three, if you're in a housing assistance program, expect them to take a portion of the monthly benefit, right, to go ahead and continue to house you. Once again, if you're in a housing program, a Section 8 of this or that, a special housing program linked through a hospital that's trying to do outreach to the community, you have to understand when you sign that rental agreement to be able to stay there while you're waiting to be found disabled, they may have access to some of your back pay, and they surely, to continue to house you, will have a percentage, usually it's a percentage, that they will go ahead and take from your disability benefits each month. Okay, next one. Stay on top of getting your Medicare and Medicaid details in line. This is so incredibly important. If you don't get the forms within 2 weeks from getting this letter, call the SSA and put them on notice. Don't let your health insurance fall through the cracks. It's worth more. This is the most important thing from this video. It's worth more than your check every month. Your insurance benefits. Now, some of the disabled, they don't use them. It's like, guys, what are you doing? Like, use them. They don't use them. They get a CDR, and then they get kicked off because they never went for medical review. You have essentially, to some degree, free Medicaid insurance, health insurance, or you have to pay that little monthly amount for the Medicare. Now, some of you guys will say, oh, it's not a small amount. It's a huge amount. Well, remember, if you don't take it when you're supposed to and it first becomes available to you, you get penalized thereafter. And it really does really quickly become something that is way too much where you cannot afford it on a monthly basis. Okay. Now, with that said, number 5, this is something that a lot of people don't do. They never do it. I tell my clients to do it. They never do it. So I get it. If you don't want to do it, you're going to be like one of everybody. I get it. But now that you have money coming in, establish the budget. The monthly budget is key going forward. Here's why. Everybody gets their disability benefits. They're happy. They have their back pay. The back pay runs out. They just have their monthly check, and then they're miserable because they don't have enough money to buy the things that they need. So what happens is people don't know how to do a basic budget. And the budgets are super simple. The way the budget works is that you write down all of your monthly costs on a piece of paper. Super simple, super easy, right? All of your monthly costs on a piece of paper. You see how much you have left over, if any, and then basically from there, you see what you can keep, what you can get rid of, and you establish your monthly protocol for expenditures. Your monthly protocol for expenditures is super important because it keeps you from overspending and then being super miserable. Now, look, some of you guys are only getting like 600 bucks on SSI. Some of you guys are only getting like 800, 900 bucks on, SSDI. I get it. You don't really need to do a budget because you know that it's going to be gone within the first 2 days that you get it. I get it. I totally get it. But for those of you who basically need to figure things out, budget out the details. Okay. Now, next thing, 6, housing. Everybody's thinking about that. Where am I going to be housed? What am I going to do with housing? I get it. I get it. Howdy, Leanne. Howdy, Pat Vega. We got a lot of people. Howdy, Deb Carter. What I really, 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 really want to go ahead and basically go through is essentially the next most important thing to make sure you have set up for yourself are appliances. A lot of people will get set up with a room, an appliance won't work, and all of a sudden they're in a free fall, freaking out. They can't keep food. Refrigerator, microwave. Those 2 appliances are crucial to make sure that you have those. When you get your back pay, if you don't have those, get one. Even if it's just like a small little backup one or whatever, get one because you're going to need it for the basics. Nobody thinks about that stuff. They only think about their housing. 2 appliances above all. You need the microwave. You need the refrigerator. Okay, next thing to think about. Once you're found disabled, inside your medical insurance, there are opportunities for transportation assistance, like Medicaid will support you to your medical appointments. Okay, cool, awesome. A lot of people don't know about that. But the bottom line is figure out what you need transportation for. So this is going to be your transportation budget. Some of you like freedom and you want to have a car, have insurance, and go places. I fully support this. That's awesome. Budget it out. Some of you don't have enough money to pay the insurance, pay for the car, pay for the fuel, because the fuel is ridiculous right now. I get it. Budget, but use your health insurance to get you set up for transportation to future doctors. Next thing, find out in your area who is in the coverage for your particular insurance. Medicaid doctors are not going to be the same as Medicare doctors usually, so you have to figure out who is in the pile. But this is important. You may find alternative options for pay-to-play doctors. That's where you pay a specific amount and they just do whatever they need to do. Sometimes you won't be able to find something that you need done in your area. So something under Medicaid, a doctor that does that specifically for Medicaid. And you'll have to pay to play to be with a doctor who will go ahead and do that, whatever procedure, build that thing for you, whatever. The medical device, the prosthesis, whatever. As a result, start to make essentially a layout of all of the medical things you need done. The easiest way to do that, here's how you do it. You go into Google. You Google the issue with your body. I have this issue. What kind of doctor treats this issue? Boom. Now you know the specialist, right? You write down all the names of the doctors that you need, what they're for, the specific diagnostic impairment that you have, right? Diagnostic impression impairment that you have. And then you start to search for where these doctors are and essentially, are they going to be capable of being physically close enough for you to interact with them? If not, do you have to go outside of your insurance and use the pay-to-play gig? Now, another thing, you have to, and I know we're doing more than just, I was supposed to do 5, but there's a lot of, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for 15 years now through other law firms and then almost 10 through my own. There's another thing. There's this thing called that pre-effectuation interview that I know you guys want me to do a video on. I just never get a chance to do it. Realize that the pre-effectuation interview is one of these dictating things. Now, usually they don't send you the letter of how much you're going to get until you complete that, but sometimes they do. It's an interview that defines whether or not you'll receive benefits or how much back pay you'll actually get. And what it's about, it's looking at solely, do you meet the non-medical requirements for disability benefits? Is there a prison, a jail issue? Is there an academia issue? Is there an SGA job issue? All those sorts of things. So even though you got a medical approval, you still have to go through that analysis of the pre-effectuation interview to see if you meet the non-medical requirements. Cool. Now, a couple more things, couple more details. When you go ahead and begin to receive benefits, okay, some of you may have some criminal activity in the background. It is a great idea to look, I don't care who you are. And as an attorney, I tend to be more one of those who, and I tell my clients, I don't care if you use drugs. I don't care. I just don't want to see it in the record. So many people use and abuse. When people are like, oh, that neighborhood, there's a lot of drug users in that neighborhood. Show me the richest neighborhood in America, and I will show you a high percentage of users and abusers. That's the reality. Low income, high income, they're all using. So the point is this. Understand. Oh, Kenobi. Hey, cool. Very cool. Excellent. Trip. Thank you, good sir. I really appreciate it because I do. I drink that tea stuff, that raspberry tea, all day long. That's what keeps me awake, even though I'm pretty much a corpse at this point that needs sleep. So here's the deal. When it comes to the criminal activity, if there's something that's bothering you that maybe the SSA hasn't figured out yet, hasn't popped up yet, use some of your back pay to go get a criminal law attorney to fix it or have some sort of fix in motion. Some of you guys could be like, oh, I don't want to have to blah, blah, blah. Get it done. Get yourself free from the stupidity of whatever you did. Just get it done. Another thing, once you're receiving disability benefits, no more stupid crap. No more going out and panhandling. You go to jail and you're going to lose your benefits if you're in there for more than a certain amount of days, 30 days, yada, yada. No more BS stuff. No more, I'm going to do a little side hustle here, a little side hustle there. When it's something that's specifically, you're not supposed to, but, for me to you, when it's something specifically you could potentially get arrested for, like panhandling, you are on the radar of every sheriff and cop out there. You're standing at a crosswalk that they constantly drive through and know just as well as you. Don't do things that are going to cause, criminal activity to be brought up. There's another issue too, which is a lot of you guys will have a bad night, right? Once you're found disabled and you get that back pay, no bad nights. What do I mean by bad night? It's simple. You're happy. You got pizza on the way. You got the beer in the fridge, right? Things are good. Things are really good. On the table, narcotics. Not good, but you're going to do them anyways. I don't care. That's your problem. You do them. You buy extra. You do those. You end up in the hospital. As a result of being in the hospital, they test you. What do they find? They find that. And now all of a sudden, you've got drug use and abuse on your record. After you just spent the last 6 months proving to the judge that you were part of a program to quit whatever you were using, right? Early remission. Don't be that person that enjoys that night and ruins everything. All right. Another thing too, this has been getting some claimants recently that live in the city. When you buy one of those little bicycles, whether they're electric, whether they're gasoline powered, they're bicycles, right? You're pedaling, but it's also got some zip to it. It's got some power to it. Make sure you know if that's allowable to be used in your particular city. Nobody cares if you're using them in the country. Nobody cares if you're using them around these giant HOAs that are like a disease taking over everywhere, okay? But the city will call the cops on you. Some cop will be driving around. They'll arrest you. Boom, you've got a problem. Another thing, very important, have a backup plan. The moment you're found disabled, you know where you're going to go live, but have a backup plan for somewhere else. Once you are found disabled, you will go ahead and have a lot more people who are open to going ahead and basically, giving you shelter. Because they know you have money coming in, and they know that you're going to pay them a little bit to be able to stay there. So have a plan B set up. All right, now, next thing, and this is important. This is probably the most important one. If I were to sum it down to and then I'll take phone calls. This is the most important one that I can think of out of this list, even though I didn't actually create a full list because I had to take a shower. So here's the thing. when you are found disabled, keep your life out of other people's problems. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it slowly. Keep your life out of other people's problems. You know, when somebody comes to you, man, can you help me out with this? No. When you are first found disabled, you're not sure how your life is going to change. You're not sure how your life is going to evolve. You don't want to invest the money you just got into somebody else's problems. You don't want to invest the time you have now into somebody else's problems. You don't want to invest the sanctity of your disability benefits by having some criminal interaction problem in somebody else. You have to take care of yourself. You want to help somebody else? Cool. 4 months down the line from you having your thing down, you've got your routine, you've got your gig down. I'm cool with it. You're cool with it. Everybody's good. But you don't do that the first 4 months because you don't have your rhythm down. You're sitting down at the drum kit and you don't know what's going where. You're not hitting that at the right time or that at the right time. Make sure you get your rhythm together. That way, when you can help people, you can do it from a safe place. All right, I'm going to put the phone number up here real quick so that people can give me a call. Keep in mind, we might, because it's still part of the, till 5 p.m., have people calling in who basically just want me to work with them for the law firm. So I'm going to have to make sure that those individuals that are calling the law firm know that this is the live, yada, yada. If you guys want to go ahead and call in, that's the phone number right there, the 407-279-1754. I'll answer whatever disability questions you have. But please, if you do find somebody who wants to run hearing questions, please, please, please go ahead and basically let's do it, because I've got a whole lot of new hearing questions that I've been working on based off of the best crazy naughty ones that the judges have come up with. While we're doing that, I'm going to take a moment real quick and look at some of the comments real quick. Again, thank you for the $5 donation. And Faith Moore, thank you for the $1.99. Michael C., did everyone see Shine's video NASA with her son? So good to see your face smiling again. I did see it. I was super jealous that she didn't invite me because I love going to NASA. Let's see. Let's see. Congratulations, Renee. Excellent, excellent. You were found disabled. That's excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's see. I know there's Google additional docs. My primary doc is my diagnostic. Yeah, so if you have a primary doctor, PCP, and they're given a diagnostic impression, you want to go to them for kind of like the things that they've been treating. But at the same time, now that you have medical insurance, specifically through Medicaid or Medicare, go get some specialists to go ahead and treat everything. But remember, Medicaid, it's tough to find somebody who's a specialist who will take that for the most part. Okay, so I'm going to put the phone number up one more time. I know that we're doing this at a different time, so people that wanted to call in can't really call in right now like they would, because normally we do like 9 o'clock. And I do have a security expert that's going to help us out at 5:30. But let me put the phone number in real quick again, and that way we can kind of go through this. All right, now another thing while we're kind of waiting for somebody to call in that I want to go through is that the future of disability benefits is constantly changing. And what's happening is there's going to be a budget situation. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we're going to call right now. Hold on. Okay. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot, Disability Resolution PA. We are live on YouTube right now. We're doing the show significantly earlier than we usually do. Remember to use a fake name through this call. And would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
A specific question, please.
Perfect, good sir. Walk me through. What's the question?
The question is, I'm getting a loan from a relative, and I've got one of those forms to send in Social Security about the loan. And my question is there any hiccups that could go along with that could cause me problems down the road as far as reevaluations or anything like that? Because it's a lot of money. It's like $4,000 for dental work.
So wait, you're just getting a loan from them. You're not found disabled yet, or you are found disabled yet?
No, I've been on disability for about 20 years.
So, and you're getting medical treatment, and you're saying it's not covered by the insurance, and that's why you're getting a loan?
That's correct.
So, I mean, what kind of procedure is this that wouldn't be care? Are you Medicare or Medicaid?
SSI Medicaid, and it's dental work.
Okay. So just assuming, I'm just going to assume that there's no doctor, they won't cover it or whatever. It's not included. Let me ask you this. So you're basically doing a loan agreement with a family member to get around $4,000 to do dental work, correct?
That's right.
And you want to know if it's going to hurt you down the line when you get a CDR, correct?
Correct, or in any other way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to really hurt you. Basically, you can always submit that to the SSA. Just make sure the payment that you have to, like, how much are you getting per month? Is it the 841 or is it like 600?
841.
All right, so just make sure that when you do that loan agreement that you're paying back like only like $200 a month towards it. That way, there's always some room in there, to go ahead and have that other money go towards living expenses and things like that.
Well, he was agreeing to $25 a month. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's no biggie. That's super cheap. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, and would that hurt me on the food stamp side?
I'm not sure what state you're in and how that would affect.
Georgia.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the food stamps would play out for that. The other side of the coin is if it ever does become a really big issue, he could just forgive the loan agreement, and you could just agree, orally to just pay him $25 or whatever, if he needed it and wanted it. But still, you have to notify them. But at the same time, I don't know how that would affect your food stamp. You're not even getting that much in food stamps though, because you're getting your SSI. How much are you getting in food stamps?
$250.
Wow, that's high. In Florida, that's a lot higher than Florida. Okay. I don't know how it would affect your food stamps. You can always text me that question later. I'll see if I get a chance to get to it. But bottom line is, I don't foresee how that would hurt you because you're just taking funds you already have to pay back a loan. I don't think it would hurt them. I don't. Now, there might be some weird little caveat to it, but inherently, from what I know from the Florida food stamp system, you should be fine. But, again, with these benefits, they're finding new little ways to add all these little caveats, these little extra, elements that just make it harder for people to get through life. So just send me an email on that one. If I get a chance, I'll look it up and see what I can find. Yeah.
Great. Hey, I sure appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely good, sir. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Perfect, guys. Okay, so there we go. Let's see what we got. All right, so I'm going to put the phone number in there again, see if we can get another caller real quick. So I was talking before about some of the big changes with the SSA. There are a zillion bills compared to what there normally are up in the House and the Senate right now to help. Oh, here we go. Let me take this real quick. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube right now. I'm doing the show significantly earlier than I normally do. Remember to use a fake name throughout this phone call because we are live on YouTube. Would you like me to answer a specific question or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you for
it. So the phone phone's cutting in a little bit, in and out a little bit. Walk me through real quick. What question can I answer for you?
I have a question because I have a relative that got Social Security disability, and now he got charged an overpayment, which is kind of scary. So how does that work?
So an overpayment is where the SSA either screws up themselves or you screw up and don't tell them about something that you were earning money or doing something that you weren't supposed to. Overpayments can be scary due to the dollar amount that they usually come across as. How big is the overpayment?
I don't have it. Now, I'm talking about a friend of mine. It's not me. I just thought, well, this is not good. But I worked for 48 years. I've talked to you before.
Sure.
I get about $2,500 now, somewhere around there, in Social Security disability every month. Now, I just worry that they want that sooner or later they're going to say, "Hey, we paid you too much," because I hear you talk all the time. Most people are getting like $600-800.
SSIers, yeah, SSI people.
Okay. Well, so that's the only thing that concerns me. I don't work. I'm not out making money under the table. Really, I just want to be left alone. I just don't want to work. And it's not that I'm lazy, but I've had enough.
Sure. Okay.
So I worry about that because I'm worried about this government that comes back after people that says, hey, you know what, you owe us money back.
So here's the thing. You're only going to get one of those if you are, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could do it, but the main ways are if you were to go ahead and earn money outside of the trial work period, outside of the extended period, outside of the ticket to work program, and it somehow interacted with your benefits in a negative way, where you became ineligible for that month, or they had to reduce your benefits by a particular amount. Are you SSI or SSDI?
SSDI.
All right, cool. So most of the things you should worry about for overpayments don't apply to you. Overpayments are heavy tilt when it comes to SSI claimants. There's not a lot of situations, if you're earning over $1,350. So, all right, SSDI. Let me do the real quick map out. You got 9 months of trial work period. After you blow through that, you get 36 months of this extended, eligibility period, where you can basically earn under $1,350, still keep your check, still keep the money. And then you've also got a ticket to work program where you can, sign up to go ahead and work, and then basically, work your way into not having disability benefits, but keep the benefits while keeping your disability check. If you're SSDI, you're very unlikely to get, one of these overpayments unless it's for like a single month or a couple of months. And even then, if it's under $1,000, they usually just wipe them out with an SSA 632 form. And if you really have to battle it out, the first two things you file is an SSA 632, which is a waiver of overpayment, and a SSA 561, which is basically an intend to appeal document, which says I am appealing this. So kind of the bottom line here is, it's not something as an SSDI person you should really be worried about. I mean, you're not working right now, so it's not going to happen.
No, I'm not going to work again. I mean, unless I'm doing something around my house, that's it. And I'm not ever going to work for anybody again. And I haven't since I applied for SSDI. I haven't worked for anybody. I was working for a major military contractor company, and that was the end of that. I mean,
I totally hear you. You know what I mean? It's just you're going to be totally fine. I wouldn't worry about it. They might send you a giant check and you would know, and I would, tell you to go call the SSA and say, hey, there's a problem here. But for the most part, yeah.
It's funny that you say about the giant check, because I did get paid a check since the day I filed for SSDI.
Yeah, that's your back pay. Yeah.
Yeah. And however, and since I said I work for a big company, I had MetLife. And so I had MetLife disability, and so they paid me every month until everything got settled, and I had to pay MetLife back all the money that they paid me.
Yeah, because look, if it's like an LTD situation, you owe the insurance company your back pay for those months that which you were receiving. Yeah. So you got to pay them back.
I took care of it. I did. I took care of that. I have all the documentation, that I got from the attorneys and everybody and all that stuff. One more question, real quick, and I'll get off of here. Let somebody else have a shot. I'm not 65 yet. I'm going to be 65 in September, and so I guess my SSDI changes to SSI.
Yeah, so what happens is they take your SSDI benefits on the moment you're about to reach full retirement, which it's 65, 66, 67, whatever it is for you. And they shove it into a magical box, and then they spin this wheel, and then it magically turns into retirement. They pull it out and they give it back to you. That's the whole process. It's involved, but they were able to steal that box, keep it at the SSA, and the CIA has wanted it there the whole time. But yeah, no, basically the whole thing that happens is your SSDI benefits just magically convert into retirement, and then you don't have to worry about this whole $1,350 thing. So yeah.
They sent me a card in the mail, the one card, you know what I'm talking about, and it's got I'm looking at it right now, Part A, Part B.
Yeah.
Kicks in 9/1/2022.
Medicaid?
And
yeah.
So should I just let it ride and take that, or should I look for another plan? Because I keep reading a lot about Medicare Advantage plans, and it's very confusing.
So here's the thing. There's the classics, the ABDs. They go through the intro letters, and then there's like add-on ones that are like pay to play gigs. But the point is this: you've got to figure out, you got to budget what your medical conditions need. And then as a result of that, figure out what thing you have to opt into when you bind it. But you should always. How long have you been on SSDI benefits?
A year and a half, 2 years.
Year and a half to 2 years? Okay. So yeah, you want to take your SSDI Medicare the moment it becomes available. The moment it becomes available. Because if you don't, you're going to get hit with penalties. And those penalties are going to make you sad, because the best health insurance you could get is set up through that Medicare for the price. And you do not want to take it later down the road, because it's going to be too expensive then.
So I'm in really good shape. I really am. I live here in Florida, and I'm 170 pounds. I don't get sick, and anybody can get sick at any time. I get that. Yeah. So are you telling me that I should take at least A and B?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, those are kind of the basics. I mean, that's what most people opt into. Yeah, but there's a lot of other stuff you can opt into as well. So I mean, like, they have people that just sit there and go through Medicare options and go like, okay, well, you have this impairment, so you want this, and you have this impairment, so you want this, and then you have to decide, do you want this or that? So you've got to, like, you know what I mean? You got to go through it. You got to. They have people that go through that stuff. So you might want to seek somebody out and start getting advice on that. But yeah.
I got running out of time. I'm gonna have to look into that, because I mean, this is we're going into June. So I got a couple months, 3 months. So I don't know. It's very. I'm married, and my wife's a lot younger than I am. So.
Well, put her to work. No.
What's that?
Put her to work. Get her out there working the job that she's working. Make her get another degree. No, I'm just kidding.
She's doing fine, but that's what happens. I got two guys my age. When you marry a younger girl, they look at you now when you're sitting at home and you're retired, and they're like, "Damn it, I got to go to work."
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the gig, though. That's why you see varying levels of that, but that's life. You got to work until you make enough money to not work anymore, or like every American other than the rich, you have to basically work until you can have a small enough amount per month to be able to afford on the benefits, or you got to work while receiving benefits through your retirement, which has become the new norm. We used to have it where one person could earn enough for the entire family, have a house, all that stuff. Now we have it where one person can't even afford a house. So our economy is, people tell us we're the greatest country in the world. I think freedom-wise we are, but I think financially we are led by the worst clowns on earth, when it comes to making smart choices to build. Yeah. So
you're right. Look, I just did my taxes not too long ago, and of course before April 15th, whatever, April 17th, whatever I'll do because of the weekend. But I got nailed big time because of what I get from SSDI and what my wife makes for a living.
I'm guessing she got nailed pretty big time too, because it's really her earnings are to her, but you filed jointly. So, but yeah, I mean, and keep in mind, I'm not a tax attorney, so tax stuff. I
brought this up, and I wonder if it would be. I said this to you before. I might have been on here. Maybe I should get a divorce.
If it's a tax document, I would have a tax attorney take a quick look at it, see what they can do with it, because I hate taxes myself. Every time people are like, we need to raise taxes on the rich to support the poor, I'm like, why don't we just audit the USA, the government, what they're spending money on? And
they won't.
Well, your generation didn't get it done, but my generation, there's not going to be a United States government without an audit. That's the bottom line. There won't be one. We will tear it apart.
Love that you're saying that, but I still don't believe that'll ever happen.
The thing is that the whole system fails if we don't support it. And my generation has been very good at binding together and saying it's either this or nothing. And the
I
government,
think it's already filled, and look what we got.
I mean, the bottom line here is that we need to audit the United States government, because if the U.S. has that many billions to send to foreign nations, that many billions to spend on immigration for more people coming in that we never had the capacity for to begin with, it was fine under the prior administration. It was a good system. Now it's just like we don't even know who's coming in. We don't even know. We have no clue. We know that we ship a lot of them via secret airplanes to different locations, but we don't even know how many are coming in. So, and the reality of it is too, we need immigrants who can basically make work product because our economy has to grow. But the other side of the coin, yeah,
I do. I see it, and I see them working on roofs and stuff. These people, they work hard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know they're needed because I got a kid. He's a 22-year-old doughboy, and he could go outside and work for a living. He works at a contractor place and built everything, but he couldn't handle going out and doing manual labor, and we're going to need people to do that.
Well, let me tell you something. He can, because if I can do it, he can do it. I've been up on a roof. I've been rebuilding insides of things. I've been all kinds of stuff. So let me tell you, if I can get into a stall and clean out the manure, he can surely go ahead and do the same thing. I think that's one of the problems culturally with America and Americans. The parents,
It is a problem.
they don't put enough on the kids' plate, and parents are always like, well, they can't handle it. I can assure you, if you survived, your kid will survive too. I can assure you of that, So
I understand. Now, he does have type 1 diabetes, and he's not big guy, but he's got a big problem there. He can't get out. I live in Florida. I live right down the street from you, and he just can't get outside. So very much. It killed him. So I don't know. So that's a different problem.
If they're disabled, that's the thing. Like, I always my study. Yeah, my study of disability goes back to my grandmother, where she would go, like, if you're not disabled, my grandma was a tough woman. And she would say, you have to go out there and earn money. It was different back in the day, so, but a lot of people see me and they're like, why is he making videos at 2 a.m. at night? And the reality is relatively simple. To make enough money to afford the employees, you have to work really, 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 really hard. And that's because the dollar's devalued, the cost of everything's up. They have not increased what attorneys make for disability claims at all, other than the cost of living adjustment to the claimant, which is not enough to support us. So, and the articles all show that from 2000 to 2020, there's been a 40% decrease in the power of spending of the disabled, meaning that their money has become 40% worth less than what they normally used to have back in the day. So, a lot of people are sitting there with disability benefits going like, you can't do it on this. The reason why is we have a failed economy. The reason why is we used to be this amazing, incredible country filled with opportunity, but now all we are is just a bunch of big stores that are owned by a small group of people who will define essentially your future,
Yeah, what's interesting about my situation now is I thought, hell, you're almost you're making $2,500 or more a month just doing nothing, and sitting at home, and I wonder how that's going to look about, I don't know, 8-10 years from now, because it probably won't be much if I have it at all.
Who knows what's going to happen in 10 years? Look, if you would have told me 3 years ago that we were going to have COVID, I would have been like, yeah, right. If you would have told me, 3 years ago that we were going to have a Russian invasion of Ukraine threatening NATO, I would have been like, dude, this is not, a video game. There's no way that's going to happen. If you would have told me that China intended to take over Taiwan, if you would have told me that, all of these things were going to happen, we'd have this giant election thing and, all this, I wouldn't have believed any of that. But that just shows how the norm settled inside me and made me feel secure. And then they took away all that security and created that fear based on all this stuff happening. So, 10 years from now, you got to remember, they're constantly finding ways to make it illegal for you to put a trailer on a piece of land. And at the same time, they're constantly finding ways for people to not be able to afford a home or the rental costs of an apartment. So they got to get a trailer on a piece of land. It's all just the squeeze. Anything that they can steal out of the American public, the people, They're going to do it because that's what feeds them.
I see it here, and even in my neighborhood, I see things around the area where people have parked big trailers in front of their house.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's getting kind of out of control. But that's their problem. I don't do anything about it. But yeah, it makes you realize what's really going on.
You know, what's interesting is that we prioritize the perfecting of society so that things look pretty, but we don't perfect or practice the perfection of society so that people don't need trailers. You know, there was a time in America where we had carriages, horses in front of them. We went from, Boston, Massachusetts, Providence, all the way over to California. And that was how we lived. That's how we existed. What's happening now is people are seeing that land is becoming too extremely expensive. And as a result of that, the whole ideology of people having a place as an American to, approach and attach to a piece of land that's bigger than an acre. That whole world is over. They've essentially killed that world off. There's those who can get enough money to invest into land to create rentals. And then for pretty much everybody else, they're stuck in this world of just barely making the monthly. And, the reality of this is that, slavery comes in many forms. Slavery comes in the forms where you have chains around your hands. Slavery comes in the form where you have basically nowhere to go because you don't have enough money to afford going anywhere. So, the reality of this whole thing is that America has perfected what a lot of the black leaders were talking about back in the civil rights movement, which was, hey guys, wake up, this could happen to you. And nobody woke up. And so now America made everybody poor, and now everybody's struggling to succeed. And the other thing, and the other thing that they're doing is they're making the industries that attorneys are in that interact with the government, they're keeping the pay to the attorneys extremely low because they know that we can't fight a lot of these battles against the government if we don't have money to do it. So,
yeah, I see it. It's very discouraging. However, I'm happy that I'm at my age. I hate to say it, but I do like to sit back and watch the world melt down that's going on. They can nuke this place tomorrow, and I don't care anymore. I grew up right here in the Tampa Bay area, and we had to deal with a Cuban Missile Crisis back in this. And I know how it was, and it can happen again, and I don't care. It really is, and it's a shame. But yes, it's funny that you brought up the. I guess people haven't learned because it seems to me like we're about to go back to war, and we had a government before this one that everybody claimed he was going to take us to war, and it seems to me this one is begging to go to war.
Well, we tend to go.
It sounds like that's like warmonger stuff.
Keep in mind, like the longest standing president that was in war was Barack Obama, who won before he was really even president. He was just barely the Nobel Peace Prize. You got to understand, like a lot of the stuff we see, look at this whole, Comey situation with the Hillary campaign, like all that stuff. They spent tens upon tens upon tens upon tens of millions of dollars to have a special investigative group set up by the politicians to look into this. Once again, set up by the politicians. And they didn't discover half the things that the court system has now discovered related to it. So, at some point, you just got to realize that they're all protecting each other. They're all finding a way to make people look that way while they do this thing over here. If we voted them all out, if we gave them 2 terms, and if 50% of their first terms, 20-point list was not completed, so if half of the things they said they were going to do were not completed, they did not get to go ahead and run for a second term, then we would fix this problem immediately. There would be no corrupt politicians that would be in there long enough to do real damage. That's reality. And we have to, of course, make it so that they get 0 funding for campaigning. You make a write-up, 20 points, 20 pages. You tell us what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how you're going to fund it, all that stuff. That's it. People then take that, they make a summary of it onto a single page, and that's your platform.
Yeah, I agree. It's too bad what I'm seeing, but like I said, I'm glad. Listen, man, I get up in the morning and go outside and look at the beach and listen to the birds chirping, and I enjoy the day. And it's too bad because I do watch people driving to work, and you can tell people are on edge.
I was just, yeah.
Store, people are on edge, man.
Yeah.
They're people stressed, and it's too bad.
I was just telling back office about exactly what you said there. That they're on it. I was telling the director of the firm. I was like, look, the low, right, the bottom, the chronically homeless, the super low income. There's a lot of anger going on right now, and what has to be understood is that they were sold the identity that they were going to get a lot of extra benefits, a lot of extra opportunities through the Biden administration. And now they don't have enough money, even with the little side tricks that they do to get money, to afford the basics plus the things that they had before. So there's a lot of anger.
They bought the promises that they bought it, and it's sad because now they're dealing with it. And listen, man, gasoline, come on, you see what it is, and I have to laugh. I got a Mercedes Roadster in my garage. It's a really nice car. A tank of gas in that thing now. I have to take care of it because it'll last me a year. That's how much I drive it. You know why? Because it stands out. And I'm worried. I got to go out packing heat, man. I'm worried somebody's going to try to jump.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say one of the things too. I made a list the other day of all of the things I would require of a future person that I would be dating. And one of them was that they would have to have their concealed carry license and actively carry a firearm, because if they ever have my kid, you know what I mean? Like they got to be able to protect the kid when I'm not there. There's another thing too, like you got to keep in mind.
Sisters have one. I got it, and I started back in 2001. And I said, get yourself a concealed weapons permit. And we're not being terrible people. We're all very successful people.
Well, that's the problem with the selling point of this whole like guns are evil projection. First of all, the people who commit crimes with these guns don't legally have them. Now, could the gun companies do more to make sure, like, who has what and yada yada? Maybe it would be a violation of privacy rights, be a violation of the Second, Amendment. They promote this idea that the Second Amendment is not like all ending, and to some degree, you could make the argument that nothing is definitive in being able to do anything with it. There's no being able to do anything with the right to live, free, have enjoyment, have privacy. None of those are, you can just do whatever you want. But, and a lot of people are arguing right now, which I was so sad. Some of my lawyer buddies on Facebook, God bless their soul, but they were so mentally wrong. And I was going to say something else, a very aggressive term, but they were so mentally wrong. They were like, how is this militia of people with regular firearms going to stand up to the country? And that, to me, is seeing my other fellow attorneys in my age group that graduated from law school when I did. That's me seeing attorneys not having a basic understanding of what firearms are, how they work, what the safety measures are, etc. That's me starting to realize that maybe attorneys should have more knowledge base in firearms before they can graduate from law school. Because let me assure you, if somebody invades this country and they are running as troops across a field, and they have some form of an AR-15 rifle, you better believe you want Americans to also have some form of an AR-15 rifle. Whatever scope they have on it, that's going to dictate dominance, whether it can see at night, whether it can see real distance, sure. But you better hope that somebody that lives on this patch of American dirt points and fires at the enemy successfully. Because all those people who are unwilling to be strong, who are okay with being weak, those are the ones who unfortunately do not understand firearms. And some of them are people that graduated law school when I did, from the same law school. And
my mother told me that what kind of what you just said. My mother, God bless her soul, she's gone now. But she said there's coming a day when there's going to be foreign troops in this country. She said it's coming. And she told me that years ago, and I used to think she was crazy. Now I don't think so anymore. I think it's possible, and I think that's why everybody needs to be armed. You just need to know how to use your weapons and be, that's it. You can be a patriot. I don't know, be prepared. People might think I'm crazy to say this, but what it's all about. I don't want to hurt anybody. This whole thing in Texas that just happened the other day, get on CNN. Look at it. It's just the whole page on their website is nothing but guns and that guy, that punk.
But you gotta understand, like, something. So I've been studying.
Which is horrible.
Yeah, I hear you. Like, I've been studying homeless and chronically homeless for a while now. And I've been studying, different cultures within the homeless, whether it's a Black culture, a Latino culture, a white culture, an Asian culture. And what I've realized is that the government is more effective at manipulating through fear minorities than white people. And what they do is they make minorities feel like they're not part of America, that they're like this weird little subsection. And the subsection could be crushed by these Caucasians, and they make them fear essentially living in this country. And what I've noticed about that is that at the end of the day, these minorities are manipulated more easily by this fear that's just brewing in their stomach of somebody's going to hurt me. And what's odd about it is it's a dual message. You should be afraid of whites. And then the second message is you shouldn't have guns. They're conflicting. I think you're seeing a lot of individuals now, especially in the Latino and the Black population, who are not only heavily armed, heavily educated on what the law is. That was one of the things that always bothered me about how the Democratic Party approached the idea of African Americans and getting licenses. It was always like they didn't have the capacity to do it. But obviously, not only do they have the capacity to do it, they're doing it well, they're getting educated and educated beyond what the license requirements are. So one of the things I always kind of just felt like it wasn't a good deal for minorities was that super left agenda. Now, on the right side, the Republican side, what you have is a party that promoted this continuous idea of taking the middle class and somehow making some of the individuals rich so long as they worked hard enough. But to be fair, some people will work hard their entire life and shit won't work out. It just won't. They could invent something amazing, but it doesn't make any money. So,
that's right.
And that's the big problem I have with the Republican Party is that the Republicans are pushing this identity of if you work hard, you will succeed, you will achieve, and you will have. And only over the past two, cycles, they've been saying, this minority was able to achieve this. This minority was able to achieve this. They were promoting that aspect of it. But there's a flaw in that agenda, that Republican Party, which is that we don't live in an America that is standardized republic, capitalism. What we have in America is like extreme monopoly capitalism. We have Walmarts, we have Home Depots, we have Lowe's, we have Kohl's, Amazon. We have extreme monopoly capitalism. If we had capitalism, Walmart would be like 7 different stores that sell products like groceries and Walmart-y stuff in the same area of one Walmart. But we don't have that. So there's no real competition at this point. It's all just mega industry dictating to future generations of Americans what they'll earn, how they'll live, all that stuff. And the problem I see with this is that the Republican dream of work hard, achieve great things, have all this success, it's dead. It cannot exist in a monopoly capitalistic environment. And as a result of that, this whole idea of selling people on this or that, I mean, sure, some kid that grew up in Cuba who came here might be able to become some CEO or a politician or whatever, and that's amazing. Sure, I agree. But for the most part, most of those individuals will never have the education platform or the ladder that goes up the corporate chain to actually achieve these bigger, better things. So, yeah, like that right there, Adam Brock, the dream is a lie. The dream, for the most part, has become a lie. Although how you do it still exists. You just can't run a country that's peeing away billions and trillions like it does. Look, nobody sits there angry at night except for me and some people as to how we got 30 trillion in debt, much of which goes to China. Why did we ever allow China to offer us as a lender money when we're the richest country in the world? Why would we need them? Why would we ever need them unless we were spending beyond our means to go ahead and have things that what made us structurally better? Are we doing so great right now as a result? Did we do really well with COVID? No, we didn't do great with any of this stuff. So, I guess from my perspective, the Republican Party has to fix capitalism, and the Democratic Party.
They suck too. They can't get anything done. They
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. Well, the Republicans and the Democrats, they can't get anything done either way because everybody has their own agenda. Everybody's afraid to offend somebody. I can assure you this: to fix the system, you will have to offend people, but after 5 years of it, they will be much happier and doing much better. And remember something too, the Democrats are smart when it comes to selling to different groups the things that they want. That's something Republicans have never been good at. Republicans sell this identity.
Yeah, they put the memo out and everybody says the same thing.
Yeah, but Republicans, they have like, it's the Republicans, their one thing is if you work hard, you will achieve, right? It's like, the classic yada yada. But Democrats, they're like, hey, we want to do for this little group, we want to work for the disabled and give the disabled this. We want to give the retired this. We want to give the gay community that. We want to give the trans community that. We want to give the Black caucus this and Latino caucus that. They're good at figuring out what people want. They're better negotiators. Right. But the bottom line is, if we're all really honest with each other, at the end of the day, the Republicans have a better system if capitalism works, because then there's enough money for benefits. But we don't have that. We have monopoly capitalism. And monopoly capitalism doesn't pay as much taxes as small competing businesses that are all fighting for your sale. So
it's a sad thing to see, man. I feel sorry for my son. He's 22 years old. He makes good. He has a good job. He does well. I live right down the street from me. You know how much real estate is in this area.
It's insane. Yeah, it's insane right now.
And he can't afford to buy a house, or he really can't hardly afford to pay rent. I mean, it's insane what's going on right now. And these young kids, they're screwed. And they really are. And here we go. You got college kids just getting out of college, right now, this month. High school graduating this week. All these young people are going out into the world, and they got to find something to do.
And that's the best. You nailed it right on the head there. You didn't say they got to go get a job. You didn't say they got to further their education. You said they have to figure out what they're going to do, and that's it. There is no good path anymore that leads to what the Republicans tell us all exists, which is you work hard, you'll have great things happen. The reality is there could be one of these kids goes on YouTube, makes a bunch of videos that everybody loves the videos. Boom, they're a multimillionaire. They shouldn't have gotten extra education, and they didn't. They made the right choice. They shouldn't have gotten a classic job with a white collar or blue collar. That would have been a mistake for them. It's just one of these things where people are in survival mode. They're just figuring out how the hell they get to the next month. And I mean, I got to be honest with you, man. I got $330,000 worth of student loans left on my head. I pay down interest, I guess. That's basically it's interest and a little bit of the base. But at the end of the day, man, I got to tell you, like, people don't realize how enslaved they are. People in America focus on the white-black thing, but that's not modern slavery in America. Modern slavery in America are the student loans and the politicians dictating to us how much we could have and what way will allow us to have. And as a result of that, we sit here. And I mean, the truth is, look, everybody watching this video now, everybody watching this video later, if you wanted to fix the system, run for office or help those people that are running for office and then guide the system as it is. But we don't do that because we don't have time to do it, because we're spending all our time trying to just make a little to survive, or we've already worked and we're done. Let the thing burn down, as you put it. And I mean, I don't trust me. I don't sit back and go, man, he's right. We got to save the thing. You're right. If America, the design of America has to burn down because the Constitution could be manipulated this much, then we need a new Constitution. We need a new America. That's the reality.
Well, about the student loan thing, they continue, even free stuff, free shit, period. This government continues to hang carrots in front of people's faces to get votes, promising them or suggesting that they may pay off their student loans. That ain't going to happen.
Well, let me tell you, I thought Biden was going to do some student loan forgiveness. He's done none. He's not going to do any at this point, in my opinion.
I don't think it's going to happen, though.
So you got to remember,
That's just a promise.
in order for them to pass something that's really going to happen related to student loans, it has to happen by September at the very, very latest. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen by November. What will probably happen is we will transition from a party that made a bunch of promises that is not going to be able to deliver on them. And then people go, oh, it's Manchin. Well, negotiate with Manchin. Negotiate. Give him what he wants. You want to pass something, but he wants something or she wants something, because there's two that, don't give the Democratic Party what they want. Bottom line, negotiate with them and give them what they want. If that's what you need to pass it, then use it to pass it. Don't kill the whole thing as a result. That's just showing me the extreme left saying it's my way or the highway, and the people get screwed as a result. So, wow, Leanne, thank you for the donation. I really, really appreciate it. Leanne just donated $20, which is incredible, which is really helpful too, because when I go to New Jersey, it's like a water flow of just spending to get everything set up and working and yada yada. But anyway, good sir, I'm going to take a few more calls. I'm going to take one more call.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to ask you one more thing. So
sure.
Real quick, I'll get the hell out of here. So if this government pays off people's student loans, you know how many people are going to be pissed off because they got massive credit card debts or mortgages and stuff? It's like, wait, whoa, what about me? I mean, can you see that? It's just a nightmare.
Let me rephrase what you just said. Can you imagine if we figured out how to not allow credit cards, companies to charge 14 to 26% and only charge 3 to 5%? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if we got rid of student loans and all of that money could be used to pay and invest into society to rejuvenate it, so that there would be enough money flowing internally in America instead of all the money we've just sent overseas? Could you imagine?
Okay, so do you think if the government pays off their student loans, they're not going to go out and buy a damn Corvette or Lamborghini?
I don't.
Really expensive.
I think they're going to go buy housing.
Just go broke again.
I think they're going to go buy. I mean, you're looking at people that are not smart about money, but you got to keep in mind most people are going to go get housing. That's the bottom. They're going to go buy housing. That's what it's going to come down to. And remember, these are people that don't inherently have a stockpile of money because every month it's sucking whatever they have out of them. So they're going to go buy whatever cheap housing they can get and get out of the rental game. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to buy a Lamborghini. First of all, you can't afford a Lamborghini. I can't afford a Lamborghini. Lamborghinis are ridiculously expensive. They're like $250,000. So that ain't going to happen. Now, your argument of are they going to buy a 5.0, Ford Mustang? Some of them will. Sure, some of them. But 99% of them are going to get into the housing game. They're going to get into the housing game by just having housing to be able to survive. This idea that kids are just going to throw money away, it's an interesting idea because most kids nowadays use YouTube and financial channels, which have some of the biggest subscriber lists that are out there, to learn all the things that your generation was never taught. So as a result of the school system failing them, the YouTube people have come on there and they make money by being monetized to teach them how the money system works. So what's happening is these kids are going, shit, I could make that property a rental property and not have to work, not have to lift a finger, and it does all the work for me. That's the reality of the future. America should not be a country where Americans have to go ahead and worry about constant student loans. There are some countries where college is free. There are some countries where they even have free master's level programs. We don't want a country where getting an education is like an impossible thing. We want more Americans educated. We want more Americans working. We want more Americans having expendable money to invest into things, including the economy. But credit cards.
You're a smart guy, and I'm glad you got a good education. But I will say this once again, and I can't name the company that I work for, but they hired all kinds of engineers, and they're in their early 20s or mid 20s, and they're hoity-toity and dumber than a box of rocks, man. And they had these college bachelor's degrees and all kinds of stuff, and it's like you can't even change a spark plug.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the difference of generations. They know things in a program on a computer that can produce certain products, but to do basic household things like paint a wall, change a spark plug, change the oil.
They're working on military aircraft and things. You know what I'm saying? Designing things for military.
You gotta understand though, when push comes to shove, and this is gonna sound mean, but when push comes to shove, whose fault is it that young men have failed at learning the basics? Is it our school system?
I think it's because they didn't have a dad.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. It's great men not investing into young men. And I got to tell you, like, I had a lot of great men. A lot of the great men I had, including my father, including amazing people who just out of nowhere showed up and showed me how to weld, showed me how to roof, showed me how to do all this stuff. A lot of the great men that interacted with my life came from the Masons. Just most people don't know what Masonry is. They think it's this evil, like, TV thing. It's not. It's government camp. That's basically what it is. It's government camp. It teaches you how government stuff works. So the bottom line is, like, at the end of the day, we need a system where great men can teach young men and great women can teach young women and cross-platform,
Kids, a girl or a boy, they need a mom and a dad. And it is important. And, mom is the nurturing one. Dad kicks ass. That's how I was with my boy. It's like, dude, and he learned how to fix things,
I guess what I would say is this: at the end of the day, a lot of kids, because keep in mind, I deal with a lot of the homeless. So, like, one parent might have died from a drug overdose or had a heart condition and they're dead. It just poof happened. The way I look at it is this: you are lucky if you have two parents. If you don't have two parents, it is what it is. We are all kind of like an animal that's born into the world, a pet, if you will, to not only the government, but also the pleasantries that maybe we could get. But just think about that cat or that dog that's running around out on the street and it's snowing out there. Nobody put the time or the care into that animal. As a result of it, the animal is stuck in the situation it is. That's what humans are like too. People think we're these great images and actual things of divine beings, and the reality is this: we might be images of them, but we surely are not them. We are not able to fly. We are not able to be live forever, be indestructible, be very wise. If you look at all the stories of all these gods, they're all flawed. Look at the Greek gods. Look at the original gods that were used through Egyptian times, Christianity, Muslim religions, Judaism. If you look at all these details, or what would equate to a god, if you look at all these details, gods are always mentally flawed in the sense of how they interact with humans. They then base it on their love towards humans. That is the allowable factor to make imperfect decisions for imperfect people. But the reality of it is, at the end of the day, 300 years from now, we will not be, as human beings, whatever this is. We will not be this close to, we will be a highly advanced, highly evolved species version of whatever we were before. Oh, no, we will, because technology will transform us. I said this one time at a disability meeting.
Well, there's one thing let me tell you something real quick about technology. People don't change. The only thing that really changes is technology.
I think people change based on culture, because the culture defines who. Think about it. If you go 50 years back, if you go 100 years back, it was okay for a man to hit a woman. The rule of thumb, right? Whatever stick you use, got to be, the width or less of your thumb. The reality is that's totally unacceptable nowadays. It's the culture. It changes people. And that's not a bad thing. It's the social norm that dictates. But I will say this in the future, and I said this at a disability meeting with a bunch of other disability attorneys, and they looked at me like I was this evil, disgusting, feral human being. I'm using feral because this other person stated it. The bottom line is this. I said, look, disability benefits for the most part are not going to exist like they do nowadays 100 years from now, because the technology to cure cancers, technology to rebuild organs, rebuild body parts, it's all going to exist. We don't live in a world that's static. We live in a world of, you will live longer, you will be smarter, you will be faster, your muscles will be better, you'll be able to breathe out in space. You'll have all those features in the future,
I don't know about people's muscles being better, because I see nothing but junk. I'm watching a kid walk down the street right now. He looks like crap.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure you're watching, the Truffle Shuffle, Rolls Royce right there. But, keep in mind, like, you got to understand, they'll be able to genetically make us into whatever we need to be to fit whatever design we need to have. Because this whole thing.
That doesn't sound good. Design does not sound good. But listen,
I mean, imagine.
I don't like that. That's not good design. I want my son. It's like I planted a seed. My mom and dad both were college professors, for what that's worth now, but they weren't like this now, these professors. They used to tell me, you don't even need a college degree. They used to tell me that. But I planted a seed, and my mom and dad just left me alone to let me grow, and I did that with my son. It's like I didn't encourage him to do anything. I just wanted him to develop on his own. He's a good kid. He's really a good kid.
No, I agree. My only argument to us being modified in the future to meet the needs of whatever society is that you have to keep in mind the world you grew up in: cool cars, cool music, cool concerts, cool clothing.
Play a lot of guitar.
Right. It just that world doesn't exist, and it will never exist like it did back then ever again. You came from a world where they had great tube instruments. They had tube amps. They had amazing, all this cool stuff. It was a very cool time. None of that stuff is going to ever exist again in the way that it did. The future, just so you know, is, for example, human beings living on spaceships, on space stations, on foreign planets, having to recreate a new world. Imagine if we moved you to a new planet. We said, look, we got to genetically modify you so that you can breathe on this new planet, or not have to breathe at all. Is that a modification?
I don't know. I'd like to see that one happen. But how about Elon Musk? Let's talk about real quick about that one, because all of a sudden he's the nightmare of liberals, man. They loved him until he changed his mind about Democrats. And all of a sudden he gets hit with sexual harassment. It's like, this guy's got to go. What a mess with him. It's like Elon Musk, an innovator, richest man in the world. And I don't know if you saw it. I think it was Time Magazine, or who cares about Time or Newsweek, whatever. They named the 100 most innovators in the world, and he wasn't mentioned. Are you kidding me? Elon Musk?
So, look, I saw the articles where he's a billionaire playing with scientists' minds to create toys. I get it. You have to understand something. The status quo of America and the world has worked on products that are now being completely upended so that those major corporations owned by banks cannot make products that people want to use like they used to.
Well, that's ESG scores there. That's ESG all the way.
Right. So so in my MBA, they would say the great innovator always had arrows in his back as people were trying to catch up to slow the person down and then take their designs, the innovator's designs, and make their own from it. You have to understand, Elon is like Batman. He's the greatest thing on earth until he becomes the devil to the American people. But I assure you, he is the only thing that will save us from the United States government. Because when he goes into space and starts his own countries and his own civilizations and all that stuff, nobody's going to care about the greatness of America like they do now. Because the greatness of America will fade based upon the need of what people want to do with their life.
He's an innovator. Let's see how long he stays alive, because he even said it. He goes, because they're coming after him. And it's really sad. And honestly, man, I don't like electric cars. I like muscle cars. I'm old school. My kid brought home a Tesla Plaid. I don't know if you've ever driven a Tesla Plaid. You talk about badass, fast as hell. It's fast as hell. And I told him, yeah, it's great, but I don't want one. So the problem with these electric cars is they're taking away your gasoline by jacking up the price. And now you're seeing out west, they're going to have rolling blackouts.
You got to understand.
So they're trying to get you to buy an electric car, and how the hell are you going to charge it up when you got no electricity?
Look, you like muscle cars, but what if I said the electric car, the muscle car, all the things that are cool are useless compared to a car that has anti-gravity properties and can just float around. I mean,
well, I mean, I don't think we have that yet, but maybe.
And that's the thing. Like, imagine if we had that technology, right? Imagine if we had fusion, which we're really close to now. That we do have it, we just don't have it effective enough to be able to use. The point is this: 10 years from now, we will de facto have those technologies. At what point?
Ourselves up.
Well,
but, yeah.
At what point do we sit back and say muscle cars are cool, but they're not valid anymore? At what point do we say
they're fun. It's like it's a go-kart, man. You know what I mean? It's like a toy. That's all they are,
Yeah.
Like I said, I got a garage that just sits there now. I got a cover on it. Just sits there. I got a boat too. I like boats.
Yeah.
And I don't care how much gasoline costs. I'm taking the boat out, man. But that's the way it goes. But that's my life now. But got a big motor and everything. But yeah, these kids, I don't know. Here, let's get down to this. Yellow nothing and be happy. How's that?
Oh God. Now I'm gonna do a video on that again about the Trek economy, the economy that they had basically in the Star Trek show, and showing the differences between that. And the reality I've come to is that we have to have social programs for people to invest into, so that people have a plan B when they get older. If we don't, they're going to end up with nothing at the end because they're just going to overspend. But I tell you,
who knows? But yeah, I see what you're saying. But basically, what we're getting back into is a communist utopia, which
that doesn't exist. There's never been a communist. Yeah, you have to have capitalism that funds the current and the growth. You have to have some form of social programs to fund when shit hits the fan. Because capitalism is not good when shit hits the fan. It's never been good at that. Capitalism works when the engine is purring and revved, but it doesn't work when it shuts down because the alternator broke. That's when you need a social program.
Seems like it was working pretty good about 3 years ago.
Well, I mean, look, I'm all for oil being cheap. I'm one of the few people that sits back and goes, electric cars are powered as a result of oil being burned and coal being burned. Those are the two that create the energy, for the most part, that actually power those vehicles. But the bottom line here is this. Everybody's focused on these electric cars. Ooh, wow, amazing. Electric cars with lithium batteries, that's old tech. We've had that a long time. Hydrogen-powered cars, that's the future. And then fusion-powered cars. And once we have thermospatal fusion, nobody's going to be paying a power bill because it's just going to be super hyper abundant,
Well, I don't believe that. I think they always want you to pay a power bill. That's how people make a living.
You'll buy a canister that's the size of a coffee mug, and it'll have infinite power, deliverable instantly, as much as you need.
Well, post that. I'd like to see that one. I think Tesla, I'm not talking about Elon Musk Tesla. Tesla was the one that said you can get power from the earth, out of the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's gravitational waves there.
Edison said, screw them, and he screwed him over, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, the reality,
because it's all about money.
Yeah, the reality is that if we can master fusion, which is what our sun/stars run on, if we can master that, that is the biggest milestone the human race will ever achieve. That is bigger than fire to a caveman. But if we can then master quantum negative energy and the power from that, that would be the next big step. But you have to remember, once we have fusion in a thermos bottle size, we won't be innovating a lot more stuff beyond that because we'll have reached almost the nth of needing power. We will only need more power, getting into what black holes use, for purely massive machine movement, like taking a giant starship and moving it through space at 15 times the speed of light. That's when we would need technologies beyond fusion,
Yeah. So also, you talk about electric cars again, and so I had to laugh because I see Ford's coming out with a new electric truck. Or they already have.
Yeah, they got one out, but they're going to be modifying it. It's supposed to be a big step, but Ford has to watch it.
I'm thinking,
yeah,
I got a big boat, man, and my boat's on a tandem axle trailer. It's on a big trailer.
Sure.
Big. So how the hell am I going to pull that with an electric truck?
Oh, very well. Let me explain. I was able to pull my boat out. I was able to pull a jet boat out with my Prius. The electric motors have significantly higher capacity to torque it out than a diesel engine could ever have. That's why on the trains they have the diesel electric systems, because they need that electric system to really, the electric motors have on-call instant set it and roll. Yeah, they're just incredible. I mean, it could, and that's the thing. My Prius, if they took off the safety features, could outrace most Mustangs. That's the sad thing about, Mustang and the electric engine is that, or with the gasoline engine. The gasoline engine is a really cool thing. It'll be in a museum and we'll be like really amazed by all the little things that go up and down. But at the end of the day, it's just not really anything compared to an electric motor. It's just not. Those motors, they spin up. You could do anything. The power of an electric motor spinning could have more, thrust and push than a 50 caliber bullet's being past you. It's just,
I've done a lot of different things. You think I was lying, all the things I've done in my lifetime. But I also work for a company. It's called Motor Magnetics. I'll tell you the name of the company. I built electric motors for them, and they build motors for aircraft and buses and everything.
Yeah.
Worked there for a little bit. But, they're nice. Induction motors and things. Brushed motors. Yeah, I learned a lot about them. I had a lot of fun with it. It was kind of a hobby. I didn't really want to be there, but anyway, I should let you go, man. Everybody's probably pissed off.
No worries, no worries. I've got to call the gentleman about what's going on in Ukraine, because we basically get the news before it hits the morning shows on the Legacy channel. So,
what's that about? What do you mean? What is he there?
Yeah. I'm gonna give him a call right now. We're gonna get the security expert on the phone, basically on what's going on with Ukraine, and then we'll learn tonight pretty much what's happening over there before it hits the TV shows tomorrow. So yeah.
Well, I think we're about ready to hit the fan with World War III. I really think so. I think the world is so broke that we have no choice, but everybody has to go to war. Taiwan, China, you name it. It's just going to be a clusterfuck. It's going to be something to see, man. I'm glad I don't have to deal with it.
Oh, you're going to deal with it, man. It's good. Don't write yourself off yet.
Blow it up here, that's fine. I'm a real big time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm prepped to the max. I got everything anybody could possibly want in this place, man. I've been prepping since 2001.
Yeah.
So yeah, bring it. The only other thing, if you want to blow the whole place up, then all bets are off.
I agree. But let me call him real quick.
I keep telling my wife and my kid that, you know what, man, we get into a big nuke thing. Have a nice life.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to call the security expert real quick. Good, sir. Thank you for hanging out with us on the show, and catch up with us next week. I will catch you a little bit later, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day, okay?
Hey, good talking to you, man.
Thank you, good sir. Have fun. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
So real quick, guys, I'm going to go ahead real quick. And again, Kenobi, and I love the name. And tomorrow is Kenobi Day, which is like, whoa, this first 2 episodes going to be released. I'm super, super excited. I, as well, played for the D+, which for those of you guys who don't know what that is, it's Disney+. I didn't want to... There you go. All right. So with that said, I'm going to call the security expert real quick. We're going to get him on the phone and go through specifically what's going on over there. That was a really good conversation that I had with that gentleman. A lot of people are always wondering what I'm thinking, what's going on in my head. And it's not, I don't fit into the traditional norm of it's this thing or that thing. I tend to be very aggressive towards those types of ideas that have yet to be tested or pushed to the limit. And one of the big things that I one day hope I can achieve is to actually have a job where, maybe, I don't want to go in politics, but maybe something where I get to figure out space constitution, figuring out the future constitution of people that'll live on space stations, on planets. That's really my gig. That's my thing. All right, real quick, let me go over here. We'll quick pop over here. I'm going to call the gentleman real quick. Hopefully we can get him on the phone and basically get a good update as to what's going on overseas, specifically with Ukraine, because it's so crucial to what's happening specifically with our economy, especially with the money we just paid out. So let me see if I can get him on the phone real quick, and then we should be good to go, and go for there.
Your call has been forwarded to.
Oh no, we didn't get him. Let me see if I can try again. Hold on. Let me try again. Let me see if I can get him. Let's see what the comments say. Hugo Alarano said you should run for president. They would kill me off instantly. They would poison me with the ice cream I buy at Walmart. I'm telling you, I would be this. I wouldn't last a day. They would not like my thoughts. I'd fix things, but I would, the process of fixing things means howdy, good sir.
Danny, 30 seconds, Tramp Road, SAT 106, Hardner with encryption for please.
Howdy, good sir. So, real quick, we are live on YouTube. Can you hear me okay?
I can now, yes, sir. We've got everything set up just in time.
Perfect.
And pleasure to speak with you again. Again, Walter, a real pleasure. Thank you for allowing us to share with you what's happened. We're moving the timeline just down to the last 24 hours. Apparently, I've been remiss in not introducing my organization. Of course, using your criteria. I am C.S. Lewis, serving as a managing partner for the well-respected and growing organizations that's recognized for our global security experts and consulting services. We provide a very high level of actionable intelligence to our clients, and it's based on an incredible amount of data gathered from around the world, from boots on the ground, witnesses, government, non-government organizations. And this data is reviewed, authenticated, and then using validation through our proprietary systems, throughout the world that we have set up. We are considered one of the preeminent providers globally of this type of process and accuracy for our client. Just a couple things that we'll touch on, and thank you for allowing me to do the introduction without the introduction. So,
yeah,
I appreciate it. Just in the last 24, almost 14 hours, some of which we just finished a few minutes ago. One of the things that's taking place that has impact globally, and a lot of people know the name, but don't maybe have some sort of awareness of what it is. The Davos Summit, Davos, D-A-V-O-S, which takes place in Switzerland for about the last 40, 50 years. The world's top leaders from business, politics, academia, civil society, media, arts gather for a World Economic Forum. And it's in-person, usually held in person. They haven't had it the last 2 years, the annual meeting for the last 2 years due to the global pandemics. And this year they did meet. Today was the last day of the meeting. And this event took place at almost a watershed moment in history. They convened almost 2,500 leaders to tackle global issues and trying some common ground and solutions to some of the things that we've encountered, including the ongoing pandemics, the war in Ukraine, some of the geoeconomic impact and shockwaves, if you will, and some of the climate change. And this year's primary conversations were focused around global cooperation, economic rebalancing, society, equity and global health, food and climate, industrial transformation and innovation. And then it always came back each year, this time with governance. And what's really coming strong is cybersecurity. We bring this up. You can, again, a good Google search can give you the whole program. I think it will be available after probably, let's say, Eastern time, New York, probably 5:50 p.m. Eastern. It's 5:50 Eastern time there now. You should be able to get that on the whole program if you have an interest. The purpose we bring it up is Ukraine President Zelensky had the opportunity by video link to speak at the breakfast meeting to the forum this morning. And his comments we shortened, but Primarily, the quote-unquote here is, although there are no prospects for diplomacy, unless Russia pulls troops back to their pre-invasion position, he vowed that Ukraine would fight until Moscow returns all of its territories. Quite interesting statement. Additionally, Ukraine General Staff, on a separate note, Deputy Head of Main Operations Directorate, Alexei Gromev, stated the Russian forces are trying to maintain full control on the eastern side of the Ukraine in the Donbass region. We spoke of that before. Russian troops are trying to overcome the resistance of the Ukraine army. Statement pointed out that the Russians' main effort is to fully control the Donetsk and Luhansk region, which we know as Donbass. Luhansk sits a little farther north than Donetsk. The deputy head, Mr. Gormev, further stated Donetsk regions are having some difficulty, and he added that they are working with all their strength to change the situation. He expressed the Russian army has carried out air and ground attacks, gave them the advantage. He also emphasized they did everything possible to achieve victory, and now through the supply of modern weapons by the partner countries, he's meaning Ukraine's partner countries, will accelerate the victory. And he said during his assessment. Second individual, Oleg Senegov, head of Kharkiv Regional Military Administration, also stated that Russian troops today bombed Kharkiv yet again. Four civilians were killed, and 7 people were injured in the attacks. It just goes on. It just goes on. This is probably maybe 5-6 hours old. Leader of the Chechnya groups, Razman Kardev, who supported the occupation of Ukraine prior to the buildup of the troops and the invasion on February 24th, stated on his latest video on his private social media account that he indicated Ukraine is now closed, quote unquote, and I am interested, quote, I'm sorry, this will be a quote, Ukraine issue is now closed and I'm interested in Poland. We will show you what we can do in 8 seconds.
Wow.
As a reminder, Russian and international human rights groups have for years have accused Kadyrov of overseeing grave human rights abuses, abductions, tortures, killings, and the persecution of the LGBT community in the different countries he's been involved in battle with, or contract battle, if you will. Kremlin critics say Putin has turned a blind eye to the abuses and violations over the years carried out by Kadyrov because he relies on this commander to control separatist sentiment and violence. So this is who this guy is that made this statement. And we believe he has significant ties to the Wagner contract group that we spoke of. They've worked together in the past. History which I'll get to in the past. The response from President Zelensky is that if Ukraine fails and falls, Europe fails and falls as well. This statement was interpreted as Poland, Belarus, and Moldova. Speaking about the statement made by Kardov, those 3 countries may be next after Putin's success invasion of Ukraine. Taking as far back as March, the Russians targeted the military base just 20 kilometers back in the end of March, beginning of April. Lviv was that area that's not too far off the eastern side of Poland, the western side of Ukraine. The regional governor had indicated Russia had fired over 30 rockets into their military facility there, killing 9 people and 57 others injured. Follow up to all of this saber rattling and brief story of Davos and what the goals are, and the statement made by President Zelensky, followed by Kardov, and a response from Zelensky indicates the comparative value the Russian troops updated as far as May 24th by the Ukraine General Staff data. It's 29,000 plus Russian soldiers have been killed on Ukraine territory. In addition, 205 aircraft, 170 helos, 1,300 plus tanks, 3,100 armored vehicles, over 100 missiles, 600 plus rocket launcher systems, close to 100 air defense systems have been destroyed, with Russian forces also losing 2,000 other vehicles, 13 naval ships, and 400 and almost 500 drones.
Wow.
Just a tremendous number to keep track of, but they have the communications in place, and apparently the data group has done a really great job, just a really great job with this. Next, we have British intelligence, and this is probably within the last 90 minutes to 2 hours. It's reporting Russian paratroopers and elite units suffering heavy losses in Ukraine. Since the beginning of the war, the Russian airborne forces has taken an active part in several operations that have ended in repeated tactical failures. These attempts to attack the capital city of Kyiv via the Gosnell airfield in March, a stop in the Izium direction in April, and failures to cross the Servovsky Dates River, leaving over 60 Russian military vehicles at the bottom of the river as that bridge was blown just in the last few weeks. And the satellite imagery is really something to see, tanks sitting on the bottom of a river. According to intelligence, the Russian doctrine provides for the involvement of the airborne troops in only the most complex operations. There originally were over 45,000 airborne forces, but most of them were contractors, similar to that Wagner group and others, and its members of the airborne forces have elite status and receive additional payments. The members are better suited for work for heavier armored vehicles would normally take place, and they're very surprised with the methodology that's being used to put these airborne troops in continued jeopardy with not planning. The figures are likely to reflect strategic mismanagement of Russia's potential and Russia's inability to gain air prowess. Putin's armed forces over the last 15 years have led to an imbalance in the overall force, and the inability to anticipate Ukraine resistance has resulted in many of the Russian elite units failures, according to our intel sources. With a high level of probability, we're probably going to go with 87 to probably 92%. It appears U.S. forces may have come in contact and taken a Russian ship just in the last few hours. Don't know if it was in improper territorial waters. Can't really comment on that part right now, but it appears that the supply of modern equipment, as indicated by President Zelensky, including everything from shoulder-mounted systems to other systems, have been very effective in the urban and guerrilla warfare tactics that the Ukrainians have used since day one. Now to have the ability to take an offensive position within their country of military equipment from Russia is really almost turned the tables in a lot of situations. Tremendous amount of video, everything from the drones dropping multiple bombs onto the tanks, regardless of that security cage that was put in above the turrets, to one rather dramatic video of a Russian tank being hit in the turret, blowing off the frame of the tank hundreds of feet in the air, clearly visible.
Wow.
Above the large flames that took place when the ammunition inside the tank ignited, probably sending that turret to its height. So very, very unusual to see so much video being sent. Just an amazing amount of video from not only from our. I should have had that done before we got going here. Sorry about that, folks. See if I ever use my space. So the video is also being recorded by individuals with personal cell phones and sent out through any resources they can, including the old method of pulling the SD card out of the phone and transferring them from person to person to a safe location while collecting a clean one for their next opportunity. A very, very interesting transition of almost old school spy tactics of very small millimeter film being transferred of either people meeting or aggressive attacks or methods that were observed that were helpful to the either the fighters, the planners, or the underground, if you will. So looks like everybody's kind of gotten involved with that. So one of the other things we were able to observe and validate, which was on the unusual side, there's quite a bit of audio for some reason that was coming across cell phone audio coming across that was accessible between Russian soldiers and their family or spouse, and just how upsetting it is to hear that they felt that they had been deceived, that they hadn't been paid, that they were short on fuel, they were short on food, they were short on ammo, they were issued guns with no rounds or ammunition to fire from that weapon, or when they did fire the small amount they had, there was none available. Comments how the military leaders of certain units were saying, "You go up that road, I'll be right with you," only to find that a large number, I'll say anywhere from 20 to 50 of those unit commanders actually got in other vehicles and traveled in the opposite direction and abandoned their troops after they sent them towards whatever it is that they were unwilling to face themselves. Non-payment, despite reassurances from those folks or the command staff that they were going to get paid, or checking with their families to see if the families got paid, but there was no payments being made. And they were very candid conversations. Some of the language some folks might find objectionable, but truly through translation, it was heartbreaking, because these folks think they're being brought in to liberate and expected to be treated as heroes and rained down upon with food and flowers and appreciation, only to find that it was not the real story at all. And quite a bit of it. It took a while to make sure that again that it had been validated before we spoke about it. But unfortunate to learn that the stories of deception, and despite denial by Russian authorities that everything's okay, people are okay, and everybody believes in what they're doing, does not seem to be far from the truth. The shop that handled the translation and the review got to pick from a very, very large file and of recordings. And what they found was that commonality as they were going through looking for something else that we'll speak about next week. Put this long list of files, recorded files, and this is what they kept coming across. And finally they went back and created some authentication and through, and so to determine if we could identify GPS locations and did it all make sense, and all the pieces came together, which is why we can speak about it in a heartfelt manner. They're very, very, very disappointing.
Yeah.
and sad. You know, they're thinking they're going to be brought back as heroes, and ultimately, this is not going to be the situation. We're just a little bit crazy. So I guess this is the part where I say, Mr. Walter, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. First one's an easy one. Helos. That's just a helicopter, right?
Yes, I'm sorry if I. Yes, I apologize. I just sometimes I read through the notes. Sometimes I'll say kilos and try and translate it over. Helos is a helicopter. Yes, absolutely true. Absolutely true.
So I guess the big thing for me then with this situation, you know, and I've heard a lot of it. I've seen a lot of reports, and I've seen recent pictures. I'll call it the face of Ukraine, but the face of Ukraine is a very flattened, you know, just destroyed existence. And you know, they're talking about the future, what the future is going to be with Ukraine. I got to know, and I don't get this. How is Zelensky still able to formally operate? And I mean, I see these pictures with him in these beautiful places. I mean, did Russia just not reach those locations? Do they not know which buildings he's in? How has he gotten away with still being alive all this time with all of that artillery?
So, and I think that was the question that may have been on the tail of a recent call we had, and you know the standard response is we can't confirm or deny that open source. So the true answer is, again, calling into Davos, Switzerland for the economic summit. He's using video link, and it's not wherever it's originating from. May hit a handful of satellites and be bounced from place to place until it's comfortable enough that his organization, or with assistance, maybe we're going to theorize here that other countries may be assisting in that cyber security side to ensure the length of the communication and the equipment in use will not be violated for a location. And yeah, there are certain things that you don't do. But then again, Russia did it with the visit of one of our leaders here in this country, and then I think the United States had some leaders that they were visiting, and Russia was near. You could hear bombs on the audio feed in the background as you know, some of our country and the United States top government officials were in country visiting Zelensky. So when we take a look at it, yes, Zelensky's there. There was I think it's out on open source now. There's another attempt on Putin's life in the last 48 hours. Obviously, that was unsuccessful. Don't know if it was internal or actually not. We do know that 2 days ago was like, I don't want to say a week ago, the first of the year, but yeah, was that an internal thing? Was it a sniper? Was it an internal planned attack? You know, we talk about just shifting gears, we talk about the number of fires and explosions and unusual plane crashes that find a potato chip factory in a field in Iowa in the United States. And, you know, over the last, I don't know, call it 18 months, there's been 20 commercial fires in food processing facilities. And then this little one-man light aircraft slams into a potato chip factory somewhere in the middle of the United States. And you say, wait a minute, he wasn't an employee. How did he strike the only building there. Like he couldn't land in the field next to it or a parking lot.
Yeah.
Then we talk about the Russian side. How many fuel depots have been struck? How many fuel or ammunition depots? Their military air school has been struck twice by missiles and fires just in the last 90 days. Not once, twice. So when we think about what they're hitting, again, I think one of your questions a week or so ago is, what model does this war follow? And I mentioned going back to the Mongols over, a very long time ago, and it doesn't fit a model. And the model here is, hey, we're going to bomb the building you're standing in a couple of minutes. We thought we'd give you like 3 or 4 minutes to get out. And that's how we were witnessing in real time some of the feeds where you see the communication, and then you see everybody running out of the building. Okay, so how does the global leader or the leader of Russia and the leader of Ukraine not be killed here? So far, I don't know if it's a mutual respect. I don't know if this is part of a bigger plan. The shops that are working here, everybody has their own theory based on the shop. If you're coming out of the military data shop, you have one view, and if you're coming out of the weapons shop, which is separate than military planning, if you're coming out of the weapons shop, you may have your point of view on what they could use or why they're not using it or what they fear if they use it, and just goes on. Then you have the geopolitical shop here that wants to talk about the effect and the possibility of something happening, and then who's going to gain by this, if one or the other. So it's a fair question, but it's, again, until we roll along, and it doesn't look like this is closing down anytime soon. We still do collectively and organizationally believe that Ukraine will be able to hold off Russia, and one of the things one of the shops picked up was hit another airbase, probably airfield, maybe a week ago. But then another shop noticed that the only live operational airfields now is the 4 that are in Crimea.
Interesting.
So when we look at the ability for countries to either bring in or bring out supporting equipment to assist Ukraine in whatever their commitment or obligation or supply could provide. Obviously, they immediately built a new airfield or they're bringing it into another country. I'd rather not speak about that, but the thing we will talk about is in the country of Ukraine, the airfields were hit.
Destroyed.
Back in war.
They were wiped from the face of the earth. I mean, I saw pictures and I was like, they showed that plane, which was in bad shape, sure, but I mean, the rest of it was gone, So
yeah, and there's a couple of shops that believe Mr. Zelensky said, not only do we want everything we have back, but we want Crimea back as well. So again, the active airfields, staying with the topic, are those are the 4 operationals. The land bridge is complete, as we know, for the most part. Russia does not need the ports, even though the 4 or 5 ports have been shut down. From Odessa all the way over on the northwest side of the Black Sea to Sea of Azov over by Mariupol, just below the Donbass region where Ukraine had control, and the ports are shut down for the most part. It's interesting to watch, but it's not over. and it's again unfolds on a, don't want to say hour-to-hour basis, but the fighting takes place over such a broad area. There are so many partners, and the technology is so fast in supplying from the field, if you will, or from people involved that have to wait, 18 minutes, 26 minutes, or 91 minutes. We've got one group that can't say anything for 91 minutes after whatever they witness on the ground. So, or through their other observational positions or services that are offered corporately. But we're starting to find new people who have had private resources that suddenly would like to assist the Ukraine side of things informationally. And I don't mean any specific country. I specifically don't want to mention any of the NATO countries, but there are private companies out there for their own needs, have observation equipment. They have operational satellites. They have operational people embedded. And again, the information is just so quick. Years ago that somebody used to sit at a typewriter or a fax machine, or I'm trying to think what the other one's called, that we'll call it telefax. They could type it and it would show teletype. That's, hey, if we really want to take it back, we can go back to Morse code and the whole wiring system that was in place when the North met the South in the United States. But again, the speed of light now carries images and information at a pace that really it almost becomes like a data dump, depending on the sources. So it's streaming. It's real. It's real. Okay, now for the corporate buster question. Go ahead.
So, I've been sitting here thinking about this question, and I realize that it's going to be a tough one to answer. But Russia has a bit of a hive mind mentality. It's not as much like the United States, where people, they have a little bit more of their own thought pattern. If they were to kill Putin, right, something happened to him, if he was assassinated, would this whole thing in Ukraine over time erode, and then they would pull back and it would be whatever it is? Or is this something where the war would even more so intensify?
Great question. Depending on who you view, when I say you, I mean it from an intel position, and again, this goes back to the geopolitical shop. This goes back to the military shop. Who would be the secession leader in the event that took place? And it was fairly easy to track, maybe in the first 30 days, until Mr. Putin suddenly had generals disappearing on the front lines. He had others that were called back in for failed missions and decommissioned or fired. And right up until the point of some of his very closest friends ended up with, and we're talking about commanding officers and military officers that ended up on the battlefield and basically told, make this work. And the most recent general, a very close friend of his for many years, Mr. Putin's, was shot twice and removed from the battlefield. So when we look at who would take over, we look at who would that person or group of people be. Is there support in the Russian General Assembly, the Duma? Is there support to continue? They take a look at their economic status in country. Yes, the good news is the rate of the ruble compared to the United States U.S. dollar went from 0.0 1% or 0.09% to 0.017%. And the economists will say, hey, look, it almost doubled in 60 days. Okay, I get that. I get that. The bad news is they're struggling financially.
Oh,
they're
horrible.
just struggling financially.
Yeah, I mean, they're using money reserves and they're running out. And then now the U.S. won't allow them to use U.S. banks to pay for stuff. So it's like they got a $300 or $400 million thing they got to pay in a couple of months. I mean, they don't have it, you know.
Yeah, that debt's coming due, and there's a lot of eyes on it. And the other piece that goes with, other than that debt, is they've just shut off the fuel to Finland. And that's the headline. What very few organizations are aware of, unless they're in that industry or rely on that fuel, is there's another way of getting fuel, gas supplies to Finland. There's without going through Russia. So when Finland said, yeah, well, not only are we in Sweden applying to, for state membership, member state membership, you can keep, we're not paying rubles and we're not going to be held hostages. And Mr. Putin says, good, shut them off. And they did. And they said, yeah, no problem. We're just going to bring it through like Estonia or something else through one of the other transfer stations. So here he's thinking he's in great shape and going to hold everybody hostage. I think it was one of, let's see, they just left. They just left the room. Asked the economic impact shop to. Comment was made that the banks that used to do the transfers to rubles for them, and the question I had was whether it was a Chinese banking system shut them off and said, no, we're not going to be involved in that either. We're not going to create money for rubles through our old system, and basically shut that portion down probably 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Again, when you need that to pay off your debt, or at least make the next debt payment, it's difficult when that money's not flowing in. And it appears from the conversations that were observed by the shops listening to the phone calls that the guys aren't getting paid, the guys and the women fighting are not getting paid, and despite promises. And we've all heard now the stories of food, fuel, ammunitions. Who's buying this stuff? Who's paying for this stuff? And where's it coming from to supply Russian troops to continue the battle? Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So we'll see. To answer the question from an organizational point of view, I hate to go with the word "it depends," but truly, depending on our last thoughts, were the Duma may not be completely behind what's taking place, and obviously, as word gets out through the citizens that their sons and husbands and possibly moms and daughters are not coming back, it becomes a very harsh deal to finally recognize that your hero's son is not coming back. And then word starts to travel. So should it happen to President Zelensky, I think there is some succession planning and support for him and his country, which we're seeing now through some of the partnerships of those who believe in his comment, which is Ukraine fails Europe, and it's impactful. It's impactful. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I hope it gave it some perspective. I know the folks here spend a lot of time from the philosophical side, if you will, trying to provide, based on their incredible knowledge in their areas, you hate to forecast when it's a one-off. It's not like you said you can look at the model and then forecast, where it's heading or what could happen. I know I know Ukraine has been requesting very, very specific rocket systems from the U.S. and from the United States and some other countries, and there's specific reasons why those are not being provided, and a lot of it has to do with proxy, fighting a war through proxy, or by sending. So if you send and I think we may have spoken 2 weeks ago about this as well. If you send parts for aircraft to the country of blank, who transfers them to the country of blank, who gets them to the Ukraine, who's right? Who's responsible?
Yeah.
Who's responsible? So, and I think there's a concern for the weapon systems that President Zelensky is looking for, and they're very unique and they're very powerful multi-rocket systems. Primarily, the rocket systems they're looking for are actually designed for United States naval ships. And one of the conversations was consideration, and I think, yes. Okay, I can speak about it. One of the considerations was removing this specific type of launcher off of one of the naval aircraft to put it on a truck that could handle the launch of the missiles.
Yeah.
So then the question became again, is it by proxy? Now you're physically removing a weapon system from a known military warship to accommodate the need or the request, however you look at it. It becomes a different issue. I think, is that Sweetie, or what's your other dog's name?
That's Sweetie and Shadow. Somebody dropped a package off. They're doing their job, which is good, because I had somebody, again, parked outside of the property in like a van, and it wasn't like so I didn't, the weird thing about having a YouTube channel is like you become a little bit paranoid because, with the phone calls I get, most people are like, this is amazing. And then some of them are like, how do I find you exactly to murder you? And I'm just like, I don't want to give you instructions on that. That's a tutorial video I'm not going to do, So, But,
well,
yeah.
If you need something moved overhead, I know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, no, you would. You definitely would. Indeed. Yeah,
and I know a guy who knows a guy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's amazing. Let me grab him here real quick. It's amazing. That's my phone thing. It's amazing that with this scenario, like nobody's happy with it. Obviously Ukraine's not happy. That's a given. But you have to imagine, like, Putin was thinking the day before this whole thing was coming down that it was gonna work out. It was gonna be okay. It was gonna take a couple days. He was expecting like a Hitler through Austria kind of gig. And now what he's getting is like, the worst possible scenario, like absolute, just he can't get anything through the mud. All of his toys are getting broken. All of the cool kids from across the pond are supplying, like better Xbox and PlayStation stuff. And he's just sitting there with his Atari. It's just like the worst scenario for him to face. And then they're throwing in this like, oh, he's got cancer. Oh, his ex-girlfriend his current girlfriend's been cut off. I look at the whole scenario. I'm just like, it's like the guy has no way out of this, other than if he passes away. Maybe Russia could say, "Oh, he's our Hitler, and we didn't want him, but we followed orders." Maybe they could play that game. But and like you said, economically, right? Economically, they got a real problem coming down. Everything's fun and games until you can't pay the bill, And so kind of the bottom line is like, I just, what was it? The Bolsheviks? That was the last time they couldn't pay for something? The Bolshevik
what'd they do with that?
Yeah. What happened there? How'd that work out for them?
Not good at all.
No, not good at all.
It was a solid F-. So, yeah.
And you hate to say, how to work out for, and that I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't very kind. But here we have a leader who has now
gosh, what is it? This time last week, apparently the conversation was Mr. Putin was so frustrated with the staffing situation that he was now handling some of the day-to-day minutia of troop movements and who was where and equipment, and just so very odd to see it come to. And that was about 80, yeah, they're holding up 80, about 80% validity. So if that, in fact, he's removed so many people in authority for whatever reason, and he is physically now attempting to manage the battlefield.
Yeah.
Which is thousands of, you have to wonder. You just have to wonder. And again, if he's medically in need, and will we see him, quote unquote, when I say disappear, but not be seen publicly for a brief period of time under the guise of he's on holiday or decided to travel to, I can't take his boat because I think they got his boat.
I think he's got one left.
When I say boat.
Yeah, I think he's got one.
But that might. Yeah, but and again, when you suddenly see that the oligarchs, little by little, it's one thing to have your assets frozen globally, and another thing to have your most prized possession, according to what the shops can see, is these football field, if not greater size mega yachts, seized or taken, and in like little place. Who knew that like Fiji had a naval fleet or law enforcement agency big enough to seize that kind of vessel and keep it afloat? I don't know. I should have talked to my folks that are taking care of that part of the world. But if you lose your boat, why do you suddenly show up dead a week later?
That's a good question, because normally what happens is, people tend to get aggressive when their boat's taken, and I'm assuming Putin, got rid of those individuals who could potentially cause him some problems. Because guys, I'm not saying anything about boat addiction because I don't know anything about it, but some guys they get very frustrated if somebody tries to sink or steal their boat. And if you ever look up like YouTube videos of like boaters fighting, and they get into it. And I guess what I would say is this: it's just there's a lot of oligarchs that are magically ending up missing, gone. And all I can say is that at the end of the day, the only reason I think this war has continued is that the sins of one man go way beyond what he's doing in Ukraine. And as a result of that, it's either going to happen, he's going to get Ukraine, or he's going to die trying,
And if, and whether it's medically or by some other means. But again, look, from a humanistic point of view, we'd like to say he's created separation between those that are. I think about this Wagner group, and we talk about it from time to time. And the Chechen leader that we just spoke about. If you can separate yourself far enough, you don't have to take responsibility for their actions, right?
Yeah.
They were contracted to do security, right? Look, there's 1,001 statements that go with that, or they were supposed to only stay on our side of the border, or they weren't supposed to go to that city and involve any citizens or civilians. And so if you can create that deniability and sell it to most of the people who live in your country, you got a shot of maybe carrying forward the rest of your life. is he ill? There are those who claim from the medical and psychological side that maybe there's some sort of illness involved. There are people who talk about the guy with the briefcase, and I can't say his name right now, but that travels with him everywhere and is never more than, it looks like about 10 to 12, maybe 15 feet away, with a very small, non-medical looking briefcase that may be certain either oral or injectable medications that he may need on a moment's notice. He goes into surgery. Does he disappear for a week? If it's successful, he just was away for a week, right?
That's
he
the
must have got
game.
COVID.
I mean, he's got to have
COVID.
a body double. I mean, he's got to have somebody, he has to,
Well, we know you have at least two that we can identify. Not only by retina, but fingerprint. So, because there's no way you can work the number of hours you work.
Yeah. Oh, me. Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah, you.
Yeah. No, I've trained Shadow how to type on the keyboard, so.
Oh, got it. Okay.
He's got tiny hands, but he clicks them. No, that's the little one. That's the smart one that knows how to open doors. He actually opened up the door again. He learned the key code to enter the back door by the pool. So now it's like I can't even keep him out. Like it's weird. And Sweetie, on the other hand, can't figure out how to open anything. But she's the one that's always bitching and whining. She's in the background making demands. So yeah. There she
So
is.
if they work together, one gets the treat, the other gets the door.
Well, what happens is,
the door, they both get the treat.
yeah, what she does is she'll stand by the door and just complain, and she'll do that. She'll start woofing a little bit. She'll get a little woof. There she goes. But they're just, it's. Well, I tell you what. I'm gonna take these two little monsters out. I've got to take them down to Fort Lauderdale, and then tomorrow begins the big drive upwards. But good sir, I will catch you later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night, and thank you so much for coming on the channel. And excellent news as always. Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's all about the shops here and their dedication to their knowledge base and working together as small groups and large groups. And they just I'm pretty humble that I have the opportunity to work with them and be involved in some of the projects, and then to kind of figure out at the end of the day with one or two others what we're okay talking about and what we see but can't, and then sharing it with you and your channel. And we appreciate the opportunity, and again, we wish everybody safe and as best of the week as you can have. Thank you.
Perfect. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll catch you later.
You will. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. So, guys, that's excellent because, and keep in mind, he can't share everything with us, but we get kind of like a general overview of what we're going to be seeing tomorrow on TV, which is just super cool. And that's because he has access to not only just people, companies, people over there, all that kind of stuff, but he has access to technology where, it's similar to the news stations and sometimes beyond what the news stations have available to them. But anyways, guys, the big thing here is that I want you all to be safe. Learning about this is going to dictate what happens in America, so it's incredibly important. I will catch you a little bit later. I have to begin my, end phase or my final run to complete all the tasks I have to get up to New Jersey. You will be seeing some videos of New Jersey in the not too distant future, and I will catch you a little bit later. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much, guys. Have fun. Bye-bye.